There's something that can put you ahead of 99% of real estate entrepreneurs. I'm talking agents and investors that are marketing for deals. There's something that will allow you to get two actual motivated prospects at the right time in the right way and get the highest possible return you can on every single marketing dollar that you spend. The problem is most people aren't doing it. And if they are doing it, they're not doing it right. And in this video, I'm talking about list stacking, data stacking, filtering your data. It sounds boring, but it's not. And it's the most important thing that you can do to maximize and optimize your real estate marketing to get the highest return on ad spend. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Ruud-Johnson. I've been doing real estate deals for about a decade, and I've built companies adjacent to that as well, helping others do the same. If you're new to this channel, I try to give in 10 to 30 minute practical videos, actual advice that'll allow you to do more deals, make more money, and grow what I call your dream real estate business. I always say that if you don't have 5 to 10 plus leads per day, the only constraint that you should be solving as a real estate operator is what? Is leads. And that is a message people don't love. They want to focus on AI. They want to focus on software. They want to focus on finding buyers. They want to focus on doing the construction on the flip. The problem is if you don't have deals, none of that matters. And I'll tell you a brief story. We recently had I have a client that loves sending mailers, postcards to get new deals. And they were confused why they were having trouble maximizing and optimizing their mail return. Well, I looked at how they were pulling their data to send out those mailers, and they were pretty much just pulling everyone they could on an absentee list, maybe a vacant house list, maybe a long-term ownership list, and mailing all of them. They weren't doing data stacking, what I'm about to talk about in this video today. And data stacking is so invaluable because what you do is instead of just throwing shit at the wall, so to speak, and crossing your fingers and hoping deals come in, what you do is you amplify the probability of getting to the right sellers at the right time. What I had him do, and he's an investor in Salt Lake City, is I had him go buy 3 types of lists: a niche list, a predictive list, and a general list. And a niche list is a list like what you can get from Foreclosures Daily, Data Syndicate, amongst others, and it's vacant homes, pre-foreclosures, probates, tax delinquents, evictions, bankruptcies, properties that are in immediate distress for an owner or asset situation. Then I had him pull his predictive list. So these are lists that look at about 10,000 different data points to predict the likelihood of a seller selling their property, and they rank them. Vendors like Audantic, Prospect Now, and ReallyFlow have great predictive lists. And then I have him just pull the general list, the high equity, long-term ownership, the age of ownership from ListSource or PropStream. And now you have your 3 data sets. And now for someone like him, name is Brandon, who's doing a bunch of mail. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all those records and we're going to put them into a list stacker. I like REI Sift. I'm not affiliated with REI Sift. I don't own REI Sift. I just think it's great because it was built for one purpose, which is list stacking. And so we're going to take these 3 lists. It might be more like 10 lists because you have your pre-foreclosures, your probates, your tax delinquents. We're going to put them all on a list stacker. And what a list stacker is going to tell you is who shows up on multiple lists, right? So now we'll have Bob, who is a pre-foreclosure seller, but also might be on a vacant list or an absentee list or a tax delinquent list. And you're stacking motivation flags. You're stacking indicators of sale. And what we have now is we can prioritize and say, hey, we're going to market using a list stacker just to people first that are on 3+ lists. And that's what I call a tier 3 list. And if you're watching this video, I highly recommend that you start with a tier 3 list. And so we'll take all of that data, we'll put it into a list stacker, and now we'll have people that show up on 3 lists. And who do you think is going to win? You, who just pull a bunch of random lists from PropStream and market to them, or me, who take all of this data, compile it into a list stacker, and then determine who's on 3+ lists, who has the most indicators of sale, and I market to them. We are in the business of purchasing sellers' homes. In that business, we need a reason for them to sell. And the number one thing that you can do to increase your return on ad spend and your marketing efforts is give yourselves the highest likelihood of getting in front of the right sellers at the right time in the right way. Right? So now you have your database. And again, if you have, let's say, $10,000 to spend on marketing or $5,000, you want to market to as many of those tier 3 records as you possibly can in your geographic area, county, city, state, wherever you are chasing down deals. Once you get through those tier 3, then you go down to tier 2. So people that show up on 2+ lists. You go down to what I call tier 1 premium, meaning they show up on the niche list first. So if you're going to market to tier 1 records, start with your niche lists, your probates, pre-foreclosures, and then your predictive list before you just market to general lists only. But that is the 3-tier marketing stack. tier 3 records, tier 2 records, and if you still have budget left over, you can market it tier 1 records, meaning they only have one indicator of motivation. But start with your predictive and niche data sets before you go to your general, high equity long-term ownership. And that'll get you the highest bang for your buck when it comes to real estate marketing. Now, you're going to be asking, hey, Cole, that's amazing. Now that I have a beautiful big list of sellers who have a higher likelihood of selling to me, now what do I do? Well, now the fun begins because now you actually get to market to them. And there's 2 ways to get in front of these people compliantly: cold calling and direct mail. There are a lot of other channels people recommend: ringless voicemail, text message marketing. I don't believe there's a way to do those compliantly, so I don't advise people to do that on my channel. Cold calling, let's start there. So now that you have all your data stacked, you will skip trace it. You can use a reputable skip trace source like Easy Button Skip Trace. And what you're going to do is input that list into Easy Button Skip Trace or a similar data source, and you are going to get back phone numbers, and you are going to get back, for a lot of them, emails. Now, that doesn't mean you can just start calling that list. You have to scrub it for state and federal do not call compliance. And so you want to scrub out your federal do not call list. You want to scrub out your state do not call list. That is, if your state does have a state do not call list before you start marketing to those records. Now, for mail, there's 3 types of people that I want you to spend your money mailing. Number 1 is anyone that's on the do not call list that you cannot call. You can mail those people. Number 2 is all of your niche records. So even if you're calling your probates and pre-foreclosures and tax delinquents and evictions, I want you to still mail them, and mail them once per month. Either a street view postcard or a handwritten postcard is plenty. But with mail, the way to maximize it is you have to be mailing at least once per month. And to do that for 6 to 12 months before you really start to see your return. And you also want to mail people that after a while you can't get on the phone. So even if you can call them compliantly, you can't get them on the phone, you still want to have a component there where you are paying attention and being very cautious of who you spend your mail dollars on. But those are the 2 outbound channels to maximize your marketing to those lists and give yourself the best at bat when it comes to list stacking. So again, in this video, what I want you doing, again, to get a leg up on 99% of people that are not going to do this stuff, I want you to first make sure you're pulling those 3 types of data sets: general, niche, and predictive. Stack them all in a good list stacker, skip trace them, and then use cold calling and mail to get in front of the right people now in the right way at the right time. And then you'll go into sales, which I've made plenty of videos on this channel. And if you haven't subscribed and gone back and watched those videos on sales, I highly recommend you do so, because sales is just as important a part of the process as all of this stuff is. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have not checked out the Off-Market Method community, it's about 600 killer investors and agents nationwide growing their business, doing more deals, making more money, and escaping the prison they've created for themselves. And whether you're chasing your first deal or your 100th deal, you can still be in a self-created prison, what I call it. And if you want to work with my team directly, you can also check us out below at Easy Button Real Estate. Until next time, remember, you're only one deal away.